Everybody's got a prize. Everybody's gonna pay. Everybody's Ted DiBiase, the $1 Million Man. And you're listening to the Wrestle Talk Podcast.
Without the night out, you're tuning to Wrestle Talk. 657-383-1521. We'll be discussing WWE, NXT, Lucha Underground,
cheers, everybody who's tuning in. Appreciate it.
Fantasy wrestling, and we have some of the best damn interviews for professional and independent wrestling that you've ever heard.
And I'm Joe Lamb. Ladies and gentlemen, buckle your seatbelts, keep your arms in the vehicle at all times. Wrestle Talk begins in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Enjoy the ride.
What is up, 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 ladies and gentlemen? It is Wednesday night, it is 8 o'clock Eastern time. That means one thing and one thing only. It is time for the Wrestle Talk Podcast. Oh my gosh. Do we have a show tonight? We have one of the most famous names in professional wrestling around. Like, if you are a professional wrestling fan, you know who Bill Apter is. I mean, Bill Apter is professional wrestling. Like, I cannot believe that we get to interview Bill Apter. And then we have a interview with Marek as well. What a show we're going to have tonight. Let me bring on the night owl. I'm sure that he's got some things he wants to say. What is up, amigo?
Que pasa, que pasa, que pasa, que pasa, members of the Wrestle Talk family. We graciously thank you for being here this evening, or if you happen to be listening to us on replay via WrestleTalkPodcast.com. We're grateful to have you. Nightmare Jones, I'm excited to be here. Marek is here. Bill is here. We've got some very special guests that are going to join us early in the show. We've got Jason and Aubrey that were recently married in a wrestling-themed wedding, so they're going to actually join us for High Spots, man. And then we've got some huge announcements pertaining to the FWWC, man, the world's greatest fantasy wrestling group, man. But before we go anywhere, bro, I got to ask you, how have you been, man? How's this week been for you?
It's been really, really good. I finally got my hands on some Henry's hard grape soda.
Nice.
I don't know if you've ever tried it, but if you have not, and if you like grape soda, I would strongly urge you to go grab yourself some of this because, dude, it tastes like grape juice. Like, that's literally what it tastes like. It's amazing. I got my hands on some of that, and I bought my tickets for Extreme Rules, so I'm going to Extreme Rules, baby!
Baby! Well, man, that sounds really exciting, bro. Anytime you can get a pay-per-view in your town or anywhere near where you live, you got to definitely make your way out there. But, of course, you guys already know us here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast, man. What we love more than anything is independent wrestling, and we're going to be talking a little bit about both. We're going to be talking WWE, sports entertainment. We're going to be talking about some independent wrestling, especially with some of the recent statements that have been made by a current WWE champion. So we'll get into that here in just a second. But for those of you guys who are tuning in for the very first time, again, we welcome you to the Wrestle Talk Podcast, where we are in the air everywhere and where we routinely keep it official like a referee with a golden whistle. Nightmare Jones, Spring is upon us. Nightmare. Summer is right around the corner, man, and I could not be more excited for this upcoming weekend's pay-per-view. Backlash is going to be special. We're going to be getting into a little bit of that here in just a few minutes, but before we take another step, we have to do what we always do about this time, and that's pay homage to the greatest country on God's green earth, America, damn it. Yo, what's up to all my people on Periscope? What's up to all my people on Facebook Live? Man, we are taking your questions the first half hour. Anything you guys want to touch on, let us know. Comment on the topics that we're discussing, and feel free to call in 657-383-1521.
I'll make up for it now. For the land of the free.
Sends a tear to my eye every time.
Dude, absolutely every single time. Well, again, as my partner told you guys, we've got Bill Apter, we've got Marek Brave from the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy that it was co-founded by himself and Tyler Black, a.k.a. Seth Rollins. He'll be joining us for the last half hour of the show. In about 25 minutes from now, we'll be talking to legendary wrestling journalist Bill Apter, as I've already repeatedly said. What you're not going to get me to stop saying that, Mir Jones, is how we want you guys to get a hold of us. That's right. This show is always better when we have a bunch of callers, and it's pretty simple, guys. Very simple. All you need to do is dial 657-383-1521. Again, that's 657-383-1521. Now, with all that being said, man, I think it's time for us to get into high spots. Intern Timmy, go ahead and get that music ready, because we have our very special guests, Jason and Aubrey, joining us. They just had a very, very special event happen in their lives. They're going to share their story with us, and then they're going to get in, and they're going to get into the boiler room with us, and we're going to talk some hot topics on this week's High Spot segment. Intern Timmy, hit the music.
Everything Earth rings. We have now taken over your radio.
High, hit 'em high, hit 'em high, hit 'em high.
Hit 'em low, hit 'em low, hit 'em low.
Hit the hole. The rain got no game. I'm breaking it out the frame, coming through like a train. Looking to take over the whole world is my goal. With my unstoppable speed, taking over the world. You can't get none of this. We're running this. Well, take up first.
Woo!
Yeah, it's time to get into it. Yeah, no doubt, man. I like that tune, bro. That's really nice. A little old school, you know what I mean? But it is a damn good tune, and I think it fits perfectly with our High Spot segment. So, as we mentioned, we're going to have some special guests. We have the LaBontes joining us, Jason and Aubrey, and the reason they're going to be joining us is because they just did something extremely special for their wedding. We want them to tell us all about it, and then we're going to get into some some hot topics here on the High Spot segment on the Wrestle Talk podcast with Joe and Rene. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in for the very first time, Jason and Aubrey.
Hey, guys.
Hey, how you doing?
What up, guys? How's it going tonight?
What's going on?
Oh, it's going great. It's a pleasure to be on.
Thanks for having us.
Awesome. Well, the pleasure is all ours, and we know you guys are excited to be on the show, just as excited as we are to have you. So do us a favor and just kind of fill us in on what's been, all to do with the LaBonte family, because you guys just came off of a pretty special weekend yourselves. And I'm sure everybody's going to be excited to hear about it. So go ahead and take the floor.
Well, we just got married, as you've mentioned, and we decided when we started talking marriage about 2 years ago that since both of us were longtime wrestling fans, Aubrey grew up watching wrestling with her father, and I had found it. The very first match I ever saw was Macho Man beating Tito Santana for the Intercontinental title back in '86, and I got hooked. She was hooked, and so I was telling her one day I had 3 different type of dream weddings, if you will. One would be to try and recapture SummerSlam '91. the Macho Man Elizabeth wedding, or have a Doctor Who themed wedding since we're both a little bit into that, or just allowing me and my guys to wear Chucks. And she blew my mind when she said, "Let's do the wrestling wedding."
Oh, that is pretty cool. So the question obviously goes to you, Aubrey. Obviously, there's a lot of girls that are wrestling fans, but not a lot of ladies who would be willing to allow some sort of wrestling incorporation into the wedding. Are you that big of a wrestling fan, or are you just a sweetheart?
I guess I'm just a sweetheart. I mean, like Jason said, it was something that was important to both of us. So it's something that meant something to us, and that would help our wedding be a little different. We just wanted to do something special.
Now, I had said to Aubrey, when we started planning, I go, hey, let's just take all the chairs, let's arrange them in a square, and have that resemble a wrestling ring. She goes, nah, the heck with that, let's just rent a ring.
Wow. I don't think I've ever heard of anything that elaborate.
And so using some connections I had when I was a indie worker, I was able to get a ring for the ceremony. And then just out of the blue, I get a text from Aubrey one day, and she goes, hey, let's get Howard Finkel to announce the reception. And there was a con coming up, a wrestling con coming up that he was going to be at. So we got tickets. We went down there. We spoke with him, got his connections, and we got the Fink.
Wow!
And then everything just kind of blossomed from there.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic. So let me have you jump in here, Joe. Did you see this floating around social media, man? And what were your thoughts when you saw this? Because when I saw it, I thought it was incredible. And then our friend Danny, our mutual friend Danny, was the one that was like, yo, I know these folks. Would you guys be interested in talking to them? And I was like, well, duh. But I want to get your thoughts on this, Joe.
I did see it on social media, and when I saw it, I was like, how awesome would that be to have a wrestling themed wedding? Like, you have these traditional weddings, but then this professional wrestling wedding is something that nobody is ever gonna forget, and it's just awesome that you guys came up with this and you guys pulled it off. That's awesome.
We even had something that even other wrestling themed weddings that at least to my knowledge never had. After our first dance, which was in the ring, I had somebody came up out of the crowd, pushed me down, and proceeded to tell my wife on how she could have done better.
Yeah, so we had a little angle and a little match. We figured we had the ring anyway, so we might as well use it to its fullest potential.
Yo, you guys are incredible. I know there's footage out there, so if you guys are curious as to what that looks like, after the show tonight, we're going to share it on the Wrestle Talk Podcast fan page, so you guys can take a look at the little bit of footage that we were able to get from the event. I'm curious, though, how did the word get out about what you guys were going to be doing? Because from what I understand, you guys had like some legitimate media coverage. I heard some news stations there locally in Mass where they came out to see what you guys were up to. So how did the word spread so quickly?
Well, it was a combination of things. I had first I had a good friend who just up and decided to contact the local newspaper, and in this world of doom and gloom, thought that something like this would make for a good story, a good happy story, as opposed to manhunts or terrorist attacks or anything like that.
Yeah.
And on another side, the person that we had hired to film the event also works for a TV station in Rhode Island, and another friend had connections with Channel 5 in Boston, though we didn't hear anything from them. But next thing I know, our faces are attached at the Washington Post, the Orlando Sentinel, and all sorts of newspapers all throughout the country.
Wow, that had to be cool, and I'm sure you guys have gotten a lot of requests like this, and that's why I wanted to make sure that I took a second to thank you guys for being here, because I know you guys have been really busy. You guys are newlyweds. You're probably either coming right off of your honeymoon or getting ready to go on it. So again, we want to thank you guys for being here and for sharing that story with us. But now, we'd be honored if you guys would join us for the next 10 minutes or so and be a part of the High Spot segment. Are you guys cool with that?
Sure. Yeah, I'd be honored.
Sweet. Okay. So I guess I'm going to start it off with a question. Is anybody here not familiar with the Randy Orton dive situation? Has everybody heard of what's going on, or do I need to refresh everybody here?
Nope, Jason told me all about it.
Okay, cool. And Joe, you've heard, right? All right. Well, Joe must be off screening some callers. I'm sure he's heard. For those of you guys who have not heard, give me just a brief second to kind of bring you guys up to speed. So last week, later in the week, Randy Orton and the whole team, I believe the Smackdown team, was over in Europe, specifically Denmark. And while he was out drinking, he decided that he was going to retweet something that a superstar and a previous legend, Rip Rogers, had kind of put out in the atmosphere, and it didn't get a whole lot of attention when Rip put it out there, but when Randy Orton put it out there and then added his personal thoughts, that's when the firestorm hit. So allow me to take a snippet here from our friends over at SB Nation. A quick article here written by James Dater on the 15th, which was 2 days ago. So I'm going to bring you guys up to speed here really quickly. So the story reads as following. WWE superstar Randy Orton was having a few drinks in Denmark while on tour and started a major beef on Twitter with wrestlers on the independent scene. It all began with Orton retweeting a post by Rip Rogers, a retired wrestler and current trainer. All right, and it read, "Every indie match now, handshake, drawn out move exchange, this is awesome chant, strike exchange, dive, no sell indie strong style, dive, no more strikes, no sells, dive, flip floppy sequence, dive, hit everyone with each other's finishers, and Humpty Dumpty, we all fall down. Fight forever chant, rise and repeat until every move is useless and means nothing, dive, take unsafe shot that looks like shit and hurts like hell, then roll up for a finish, handshake, hug after the match, everyone's hands are raised, all these guys chant, go home and type on social media thanking the opponents and the company for the match and tell us others that they should book guys just like this, dive." Okay? Then the story continues to read, to understand the beef, you need to have a little bit of backstory and not so suitable rivalry between WWE, independent wrestlers, and the fans of both. Essentially, some fans decry WWE for being too formalized and written out, believing the real, exciting, talented wrestlers are happening outside of the company. Rogers is challenging the idea by saying that matches are flashy but cliche in their own way, speaking of the indies. And from a health standpoint, he's saying that these performances are no good for the long-term career of these low-paid wrestlers. To this end, the word dive is referring to a wrestler taking a high-risk move, and Rogers is saying that there's also an abundant overuse of these moves. Then, of course, Randy Orton retweeted it. It like the independent wrestlers kind of felt like he was taking a shot at them. And a lot of people have criticized Randy Orton, obviously, for being a little bit boring and some of his, personality, or his personality specifically, just not being extremely intriguing. Then you started to get the reaction for some well-known guys like Bubba Ray Dudley. Then proceeded a significant exchange between Bubba Ray Dudley and Randy Orton, where Bubba Ray Dudley posts a picture of him diving off the top rope onto a bunch of indie guys and just hashtagging dive. Then Randy Orton responds, "LOL, there's a difference between a young hunger guy diving and an old out-of-shape vet falling." And it goes on and on. And I'll just read one more tweet here. "Dear Randy Orton, my tweet had zero to do with you. Looks like you were wrong again, but you're still awesome." And then he subsequently tweets again about how him falling off the top rope, being fat and overweight, was still better than the House of horrors. Then Randy Orton issues like a tongue-in-cheek apology where he says and finishes up by saying, "To each their own, I will go back and dive into my 13th title run and get ready to flip when my bank statement comes at the end of the month." And instead of using dive, he uses headlock. So I got through that as quickly as I can because I want to throw this question out there, starting with Aubrey. Aubrey, have you been to an independent show, and do you have a problem with the way that independent shows are conducted with the dives and the high-risk moves? What's your opinion on this whole deal?
Yeah, I have been to independent shows. I've gone to chaotic shows up here in Massachusetts. And I mean, Orton isn't necessarily wrong, or Rogers isn't necessarily wrong about, you know, the flippy-floppy stuff going on. I mean, it's just kind of, I guess, their way of getting over. So, I mean, I think Orton's probably pushing it to, you know, heel on the indie workers. But I don't think he's wrong.
I think that's a very fair statement. What about you, Jason? What do you think?
Well, I remember back in the days when if you took a DDT on the floor, you got carried out. You got stretchered out. Now they're taking spiked tombstone pile drivers on the floor and then bouncing back up without even so much acknowledging such a move having happened. It takes me out of the match. I mean, I'm very old school. You know, like I said, I started in the days of when Randy Savage was draping Ricky Steamboat across the guardrail and then hitting him in the back of the neck with a ring bell, and you didn't see the Dragon for 3 or 4 months.
Yeah.
You know, it's. I can understand where all this flip flop and fly is entertaining because sometimes you see this mass just of people just flying all over the place, but it doesn't make sense when you take it into an old school. You're two guys who are supposedly fighting each other to get your opponent's shoulders to the mat for a count of 3, and doing all this diving isn't doing it.
And also a fair statement, and I'll give my thoughts here shortly, but Nightmare Jones, why don't you jump in here real quick and tell us what your thoughts are.
I mean, much like Jason, I am a old school wrestler. I grew up watching wrestling about the same time, and, you know, I remember when you would do a move, you know, it kind of meant something. Like they... You know, they sold it a lot more. And nowadays it seems like they do a move and they jump right back up, like what Jason was saying. And I mean, it definitely makes it more entertaining, but I think that it takes the realness out of the match, in my opinion.
It takes the realness out of the match, man. And all you guys make spectacular points. But I'll close this topic out by saying this. Yes, I do believe that everybody has the right to enjoy wrestling in whatever style that they prefer. What I don't like is when somebody like Randy Orton goes out of his way to try to minimize what the guys on the indies are doing. There was a very strategic way that he could have gone about saying, hey guys, cut down on some of that stuff a little bit, and you're going to do yourselves a favor in the long run because your careers will be longer. And it's not as if he needed to say that to make sure WWE didn't lose any ground. I mean, let's just be honest. Is there any wrestling company in the world right now today that can compete with WWE? No. Not a chance. No, you could put Evolve, House of Hardcore, Ring of Honor, Lucha Underground, AAA, and New Japan all together, and they still would not have the following that WWE does. And that says to me what? That says to me that Randy Orton cannot get heat. That says to me that Randy Orton cannot get heat in the ring running a program with Jinder Mahal. He can't get heat. No one really cares what Randy Orton has to say while he's on TV, so it's easier for him to go on a shoot and to call out people that he has absolutely no reason to call out to get the attention that he wants. It's clear to me that nobody has given a crap about Randy Orton for about 5 years now, and though his bank account may be extremely full, even though he may be on his 13th championship run, the last 3 that he's had have been absolutely irrelevant. And this is the first time I believe that we've talked about Randy Orton in the 2 years that we've been doing Wrestle Talk together, Joe. So bravo, Randy Orton, if what you wanted was to get some attention, but there's a difference between good heat and bad heat. And brother, by all accounts, this is bad heat. So why don't you focus on trying to make your upcoming match with Jinder Mahal a little bit more entertaining than what we all expect it's going to be, and why don't you leave guys like Rip Rogers, who actually train wrestlers for a living, to make comments like that? Because honestly, it's kind of pathetic, it's kind of beneath you, and honestly, for you to be throwing your money in people's faces, guys that sleep in their cars to make it to independent shows, guys that have a hard time finding a way to eat as they pursue their dream, is just flat out pathetic. And if Mama Time was here, Nightmare Jones, I'm curious what Mama Time would have to say about it.
I think it's shit. Oh.
And there you have it. All right, guys. Sorry for the long, passionate thoughts on that, but I really wanted to get that off my chest because I think Randy Orton is kind of a douchebag. Long story short. All right.
Well,
go ahead. Jump back in, Jason.
For just a moment.
Sure. Go ahead, buddy.
Not that I know Randy Orton personally, and I mean I can only go by with what I got. But if you think about it, here's a guy trying to put over a pay-per-view, going up against his number one contender who has won 3 matches in the last 5-6 years, and we're supposed to look at him as credible. Same thing with when you look at the Usos match. They're going up against a team that has won 2 matches in the last 2 years that they've been a team. Now, I understand what pro wrestling is. I know it's a predetermined sport. I know that, you know, as they say, wins and losses don't matter, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm sorry, Jinder Mahal was part of 3-man band. I was supposed to give this guy, and all of a sudden he is the number one contender to the championship that has been held by the likes of Hulk Hogan, Randy Savage, Andre the Giant, Bruno Sammartino. And I look at this and I'm like, what? This is an insult to a pay-per-view. Nothing. I mean, no offense to Jinder, he's doing his job.
He is.
Literally in one way. But he's not been made. I mean, why would I, if this was a regular pay-per-view, if this was a $39.99 pay-per-view, I would be missing this show. So maybe this is the only way Randy can think of in order to get you to kind of want to see it.
Right, because, and you know what, Jason, I'll rebuttal with this, and then we'll close this segment out. If he is trying to get legitimate heat so that people will tune in to the pay-per-view, because that's what their job is, right? He even says, if you guys go back and read all the tweets, he talks about putting butts in seats and making $5 million in 12 days on a European tour or whatnot. Randy's not doing his job because in this program, Jinder Mahal is supposed to be the heel. He's supposed to be the face. But now it's almost like he makes these statements and then the roles are supposed to reverse, and I'm not buying Jinder Mahal as a heel, much less as a babyface. So I just don't understand the psychology. Maybe it's beyond me because I'm just a fan. I'm not a wrestler. But I mean, come on. What are you trying to accomplish here? Or you're not putting Jinder over, okay, like Undertaker did. It's like he did with Roman. So my question is, what is the end game here other than wanting a bunch of people to tune in to watch you lose to a guy who's supposed to be the bad guy? Doesn't make any sense to me. Well, just really quickly here, guys, because we got to get to our Tweet of the Week segment. Aubrey, Give me one match besides that match going into Backlash that you were genuinely excited for.
Honestly, I don't even know the card. I'm looking it up right now. That's how little I'm interested in it.
Oh, that's shameful. That's sad. And SmackDown has been on such a high lately. It's kind of sad to see that.
I know, it's disappointing, yeah. Let me see. Throw it to Jason for a minute.
Well, no, it's all good. I will say this. The women's 3-on-3 match that
Owen Styles should be pretty good.
Yeah, there you go. The Owen Styles match and then the women's 3-on-3 match. And the only reason I say that is because I think at some point Charlotte's going to turn on Becky and Naomi, and I want to see how kind of that plays out. That kind of plays out. Well,
of course, they're going to turn on Becky.
Of course. They probably will both turn on Becky. You guys know how that ends up being.
Yes.
Well, anyway, listen, we want to thank both of you guys for being here today. We're going to get into Tweet of the Week. We got to shout out our sponsors here real quick. But listen, it's been an honor and a pleasure. We hope that you guys will become members of the Wrestle Talk family. We're going to do what we can to send out some t-shirts to you guys, courtesy of the Wrestle Talk podcast. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. And once again, congratulations on your wedding. And Jason, I have a bit of advice for you. The answer is always yes. Whatever she asks, brother.
I learned that a year ago.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Thank you.
There is one question I knew the answer to before we even finished the question.
Ooh,
always yes.
That is an awesome Macho Man impression. Well, you guys be blessed. Congratulations on your wedding, and we hope to have you guys be regular listeners
of
it.
Having us.
Hey, no, it was a pleasure. Hopefully, you guys will become regular listeners and callers into the Wrestle Talk podcast. You guys be blessed. Have a good one.
Thanks, and you. Thanks much. Bye-bye.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Nightmare Jones, let me take a quick second because I know we got to quickly get into Tweet of the Week, and then we have our first featured guest of the evening, but I got to shout out the very, very special people who make the Wrestle Talk podcast possible. Not as much as the Wrestle Talk family and the listeners, but our sponsors are almost equally as important as our fans. Let me start off by the Conspiracy Farm with Pat Milicic and Jeffrey Wilson. They recently did a podcast, actually just came out yesterday, with a former Russian Spetsnaz trainer, guy by the name of Sonny. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce his last name, but make sure you guys go over to theconspiracyfarm.com and check them out. Also, our buddy Chris Whaley with The Masked Saint. You can see his movie on Netflix right now, or order the book, The Masked Saint book, on Amazon. Our friends over at Canadian Wrestling Elite, Danny Duggan, those guys are doing a huge, huge thing. They make tours every month or so, 10 or 12 days consecutive. Make sure you guys hit up CWE on Facebook and figure out what's going on with them. MarkMarrow.com, a former guest, probably at some point a WWE Hall of Famer, or at least a Pro Wrestling Hall of Famer, as Johnny B. Bad and Mark Marrow, MarkMarrow.com. He can come out, speak to kids. He's a very positive and inspirational, motivational speaker. We also want to shout out our friends over at Creative Threat Films, micro-budget filmmakers, predominantly in horror and stuff like that, and they were the ones that produced our Mark Out interview that we did WrestleMania weekend, part 2 coming soon to our YouTube page. Of course, our friends are Painter Dream Productions that make the WrestleTalkPodcast.com possible. Big Daddy P will be on the show in just a little bit. And then our very first sponsors ever, Kansas City, Kansas Dental Professionals. These folks will take care of you. They're located right downtown in Kansas City, Kansas. Prices are affordable. They'll work with your budget. And I know that coming in the summer, they've probably got some awesome specials. Just visit our website, go over to our sponsors tab, click on the icon, and you can get all the information right there. Thank you all our sponsors. Without you guys, this would not be possible. That's right, Nightmare Jones. What do you think about that, buddy?
It's great. It's awesome to have all of these sponsors and people that are fans of the Wrestle Talk podcast. So keep it up.
Keep it up indeed. All right, Bill Apter in about 2 minutes. But first, we got to get into Tweet of the Week. Nightmare Jones, you know what to do. Hit that button, baby. Let's get into Tweet of the Week. Awkward pause. Where's my pigeons, man? Yeah.
The intern Timmy cannot get the.
We got to get a new intern, man. You know what? I've been recruiting new interns. I mean, this is just ridiculous. All right, so let me jump right into Tweet of the Week. And it actually references the conversation we just had about Randy Orton. And we're going to ask Bill Apter about this because I'm sure he's going to have a strong opinion. One of my favorite wrestlers in the whole wide world who actually happens to be one of those spot monkeys in the independents. Well, kinda. Ladies and gentlemen, the Tweet of the Week this week comes from our friend King Ricochet. That's right, Lucha Underground, New Japan Pro. You guys know who I'm talking about. He responded to Randy Orton and said this: I just love wrestling, every type. Wish more people were this way. It is an amazing art, and I am blessed to make a living from it. Thank you, Ricochet, for this week's Tweet of the Week. Joe, do you agree with Ricochet? Because I tend to agree with him as well.
Yes, I absolutely agree with Ricochet.
All right, awesome.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, he's, and that's pretty much what you guys were saying, right? I mean, hey, everybody likes a different flavor of ice cream. Ice cream is awesome. A lot of different flavors. Not everybody has to like the same flavor. Now, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, we have the distinct honor and pleasure of interviewing a man who has been around the wrestling business longer than yours truly has been alive. Okay, no, that's not us calling Mr. Apter old. What we're saying is he's seasoned and he's very experienced in the world of professional wrestling. And I happen to be a huge fan of him and his podcast, Is Wrestling Fixed? Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, a man that has done everything when it comes to journalism revolving around the world of professional wrestling, the one, the only, Queen's very own, the Candyman, Bill Apter.
Like Dig Man, the Candyman. So who sang that song? Who had the hit song on the Candyman?
You know what?
You can't Google this.
Sammy Davis Jr.
Sammy Davis Jr., brother.
Famous songs in history.
Wasn't it Sammy Davis Jr.?
Sammy Davis.
You got it. Absolutely.
You crazy cats.
Yeah, Sammy Davis Jr. That's who it was. So thank you for, and you asked, is wrestling fixed? What's the answer?
I don't think it was ever broken, Bill, but that's just my personal opinion.
Thank you. The title of my book, it's great to be here on Wrestle Talk.
Well, Bill, it is an honor it is an honor and a pleasure, sir. And we want to remind people that the Is Wrestling Fixed is available to everybody right now at Amazon.com. Do yourself a favor. If you truly call yourself a professional wrestling fan, there's no better place to go than to the man who has been there pretty much since the modern era of professional wrestling started. I mean, we're dating back early to the 1970s.
No, wait a minute. I've got a bad back from getting out of covered wagons.
Well, yeah, and listen, Bill, we want to make sure that we keep you upright and healthy because we want you to keep going for a very, very long time. But listen, but
the name of the book. The name of the book is Wrestling Fixed. I didn't know was broken, and it came about when ECW Press, was going to come up with the book, Bill Apter's this. And I said, no, you need a catchphrase, just like things in the business. And I remember maybe about 25 years ago, I was down in Marietta, Georgia, and Mr. Wrestling number 2 and Abdullah the Butcher were wrestling. And after the match, this little kid came over to me. He said, Mr. Apter, Abdullah just took a knife and he cut Abdullah over the head and with that fixed. And I said, I didn't know it was broken. And his father said, that's right, son, you can't fix something that's not broken. So when we were thinking about a title for the book, that became my catchphrase. And a lot of places where I go in the ring at shows, at conventions or indie shows, I'll go in and I'll say, is wrestling fixed? And maybe a quarter to half of the crowd who've gotten the book, they all say, I didn't know it was broken. So yeah, this is, whether you call it pro wrestling or sports entertainment, it still takes place in the 4 or 6 corners. And I love doing it. This is my 50th year, and I refuse to slow down.
Well, that's awesome, and we do want to bring to everyone's attention that though you say you're not slowing down, you do pick and choose your spots. And from what I understand, you guys are going to be going on a brief sabbatical from the podcast that you've been doing with Nick Hasman. So tell us a little bit about the podcast, Bill. What brought that around?
Well, basically, it's summertime. I maintained some family life, so I needed some summer things off because that was we were taping every Thursday night, and I do have some other things, but there's something in the works when we're going to relaunch probably in September at this point that I'm not at liberty to talk about. That will be very exciting. But again, I can't talk about it right now.
No, and we totally understand that. I'm gonna see if we can jump in the old time machine here. Borrowed it from our old friend Marty McFly, and I want to take you back to August 29, 2004. Does that date ring a bell for you, Bill? By any?
It does not. I'm terrible with remembering dates.
All right, no problem. So listen.
Although there was this one girl.
Okay.
19. Oh no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Hey, we'd love to hear that story.
I'm terrible with that because remember, I've been covering this. I've been a fan since the mid '60s.
Wow.
Well, actually, the late '50s, and I've been covering it for 50 years. So dates are not matches I remember, names I remember. That's what I'm good at.
Okay, well, let's talk about a match specifically, because on August 29, 2004, on Dory Funk's Bang TV, you, sir, the television GM, okay, faced off against James Gooding in your in-ring debut. So, do you have any memories of that night now that I've brought it back to your attention?
Oh, absolutely. I didn't remember the date of the match, but Dory Funk and his lovely wife Marty were gracious enough to say that they needed some law and order down at Bang, and they brought me down there a few times. And there was James was an attorney representing the stud stable down there who were evil, and there were several reasons that I put rulings down against them. And eventually it wound up in a match that Missy Hyatt actually refereed. And it was very interesting because I had wrestled with my friends. I had wrestled in rings at the Wild Samoan training camp, but I never did this like in front of a crowd. And it was a real buzz. I really enjoyed it. I was able to get everything in, including my figure four leg lock that I can put anyone in between 4 and 6 seconds. So yeah, it was great, and I still love to do it again. Now it's funny because when I talk about the figure four leg lock, the version that I do is the one that Nature Boy Buddy Rogers did, not Ric Flair, because Ric Flair and a lot of other guys, they put people in like the spinning toe hold first.
Right.
The opponent can kick out at that point. But when you lock it in the way I lock it in, now if everybody after my interview will go to YouTube and put in Bill Apter puts the 6-second figure four on Colby Carino, you'll see exactly what I'm talking about.
Well, we'll be sure to not only send people there, but we'll be sure to put it up on the Wrestle Talk fan page. And I want to ask you a question because I heard you tell this story, and I got to have you tell it again, Bill. You told the story that when you were a kid, you actually challenged people to break out of your patented figure four leg lock. I'll let you tell that story.
I grew up in Maspeth, Queens, and we had a spot of grass there and a chain link fence, which became the ropes. And I had an open challenge there for anyone who could break out of my figure four. They would get 25 cents, and nobody was ever able to do it. However, that incident cost my father $100 because while wrestling on the grass at the co-op there, Ridgewood Gardens, we created a bald spot on the grass and they had to reseed it. But little did we know that bald spot 30 years later would become my trademark.
That is an awesome trademark indeed. Before I throw to my co-host here, Nightmare Jones, I know you're ready and salivating, ready to ask a couple of questions. You also had
you know something, Nightmare, brother.
Oh, that's right, man. That's right. It's been an honor and a pleasure to work with Nightmare Jones. But you had the honor and the pleasure of working with a pro wrestling legend in one of the very first commercial home videos that was produced for professional wrestling, and that was with the legendary Gordon Solie. So I'm curious, what was that experience like for you, Bill?
Well, indeed, this is Gordon Solie, and working with Bill Apter was very concerning because he kept trying to do his Jerry Lewis imitation. Indeed. No, that's my little Gordon Solie imitation. I used to love watching shows where he would, well, a proboscis has been broken and we will be right back. Working with Gordon Solie was amazing because Gordon was known to, he liked to have a drink every now and then, more now than then. And the night before we taped, he had a few, and he convinced several beautiful ladies at a bar that we were at that I was Paul Schaefer, from the band leader from the David Letterman show. And he had me getting up and singing. And the next morning, I figured Craig Peters, one of our editors, was with me, and I said, I have no clue how Gordon's going to work. Next morning, we get in there, and he's indeed, and he just looks down at the script for 10 seconds, and he memorized it right then and there. So it was one of the things on an early bucket list of mine was to work with Gordon Solie, and I got to do the Lords of the Ring with him. I also got to do Ringmasters, the Great American Bash, and then he always interviewed me on the Georgia Championship Wrestling and the WCW shows. He was a really, really dear friend, and to this day I still really miss him. And I do hundreds of wrestling voices, and when I do a one-man show in conjunction with my book, and a lot of it, I have fans call out what imitations I should do, and Gordon is always one of the first ones that they request.
Oh, that's incredible, and hopefully we can get you to do one before the show concludes or your segment concludes.
I'll give you the repertoire, sure.
Sure. Hey, Joe, jump on in here. I know you've got quite a few questions you want to ask, and we want to definitely respect Mr. Apter's time. So jump on in, Joe.
I do. Once again, thank you for coming on to our show. So you were a photographer, and you worked at the same time with a photographer by the name of Paul Heyman. What was it like doing shows with Paul Heyman?
Well, I'm on the WWE Paul Heyman DVD, and I don't know if you saw it, but I said something on that. First of all, he was a terrific kid, very great personality, curly hair.
What hair, Bill?
He was
don't know if he's got much of that left. It's kind of like me now, starting to bald a little bit in the front.
He's actually got less than me. He doesn't. But a metamorphosis took place because when he was around the ring, his left and right elbows were like knives, because when you try to take a picture and he wanted to get it right in front of you, boom, he got his shot, moved on. So, yeah, it was a little difficult, but I always liked Paul, and I never knew that he would reach the levels he has reached. But with the training of the Grand Wizard, Fred Blassie, and Captain Lou Albano, how could he miss?
Absolutely. Thank you. In 1991, you helped to compile the PWI 500, which is like one of my favorite editions of the PWI magazine. How did you come about developing the PWI 500?
Well, I didn't. I never wrote the PWI 500. I never came up with the format of that. It was either Stu Sachs or Peter King looked at a money magazine, and they had like the 500 richest people in the world, and that's where it came from. So we would then go into a room, everyone on the staff, and we would rank like the first
100. And there were a lot of battles. They really were, especially because sometimes, like, one of the editors might have been more partial to someone from Japan or Puerto Rico, and we are a United States-based magazine, and you have to realize that you're also thinking of sales. So there were a lot of battles that, Tatsumi Fujinami wasn't number one, but Hulk Hogan should have been, this type of thing. It's a fallacy when people to this day, I get wrestlers that are still ticked off at me because of their placement in the 500. And I said, I was part of a committee. Now, there's an interview coming out on on the One Wrestling video channel somewhere in the next week or two with Luke Hawks. And during that interview, Stu Sachs, who's still the editor of Pro Wrestling Illustrated, made his way into the interview, and he said that I'm the guy to blame. And I want to tell people right now, I'm not. So yeah, but that's how it came about, actually. And to this day, the wrestlers still follow that like it's the most important thing in the pro wrestling business.
They do indeed.
Absolutely.
And I have a lot of, I still have wrestlers to this day that are angry at me for that. And when I did the top 10 rankings in all the federations, and I used to go into the dressing room, and a guy would say to me, "You put me below that schmuck? How could you do that?" I said, "Well, he's won more matches. I did it technically and everything." And then, oh my God, it hurt feelings like it was unbelievable.
Okay, I have one more question, and I'm going to throw it back to Rene. I'm sure he has a lot more questions. How did you get into photography? Like you've done boxing matches, wrestling matches. How did you get into photography?
In the bathroom. When I was a little kid living in Maspeth, Queens, my uncle Isidore used to take me and his young son Ralph into the bathroom and turn the lights out, and they had a little safe light, and he taught us how to develop what they used to call film. Not digital, but film, film cameras. So he piqued my interest in developing pictures, and then we go on like a field trip, a big adventure, and we go and shoot pictures. So then when I started going to the wrestling matches at Sunnyside Garden in New York, I'd run up to the ring, the guard would say, "Sit down." I'd run up to the ring, take a picture, go back, and then we develop the pictures and make prints. And that, I was never formally taught photography. I learned it on my own, and eventually I graduated to learning how to do studio photography from a friend named Jim Manley, who used to have a place in New York called Contact Studios. And I just watched him do it, and I just kept faking it until I got it right. Good question.
Rene, the floor is yours.
No doubt.
You're supposed to say good answer.
No, absolutely. That was a
good answer.
Yeah,
I said good question. You're supposed to say good answer.
Yeah, like Bill needs us to put him over. Bill, so
I always need to be put over.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I know that that you have this absolutely tremendous passion for professional wrestling, and I particularly enjoy your work, especially when I get to hear you, because I grew up on the East Coast, not necessarily New York, but down in Boca Raton. And as a Mexican-born individual with very few other Mexicans where I grew up down in Boca Raton, I grew up mostly around New Yorkers, Italians, or whatnot. So when I get a chance to hear you, I kind of feel like I'm back home. And that's really, really cool for me, which is why before we close out this segment, I want to ask you to see if you would be willing to join us in our weekly segment, which we call the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. Are you up for a battle, my friend?
I'm absolutely up for the Game Show Challenge, but I'd rather host the Game Show Challenge. But no, thank you for saying that about the podcast, and I hope you watch my videos on One Wrestling Video, because that's my favorite.
Let me make a note of that. All right, we will
do. If you see me on my... for years, there are hundreds of interviews on OneWrestlingVideo.com.
Well, we'll be sure to direct the members of the Wrestle Talk family in that direction. Well,
most of them know about it. We've got 16 to 20,000 subscribers. Where are you?
Really?
I just put up an interview with Christian last few days.
Okay, that's fantastic. I'm going to make sure that I put that on my to-do list because it sounds extremely interesting. And one thing that I find really interesting about you, Bill, is that being what a lot of people would classify as an old school guy, you don't just talk about the old school. You are more than willing.
No, I'm into sports entertainment.
That's right.
Wrestling. I follow everything because the trick is if you don't change with the times, you're left behind.
You get left behind.
You're not news anymore. And when you said to me, you like to get put over. Well, putting over is much better than being put under at my age.
No doubt. It's better than being put under or bent over, I would say.
Yeah.
So let me have you comment.
No rest in peace for me.
Indeed. Well, let me have you comment on this before we get into the game show challenge. You heard us.
Before you say that, you just did Gordon Soley.
I did. Hey, listen, he's one of my heroes. One of my heroes.
Indeed.
Yeah. So here's the question. You might have heard a piece of the conversation as you were waiting on hold to come on. The whole Jinder Mahal, Randy Orton going on a shoot on Twitter, arguing with Bubba Ray Dudley. What are your thoughts on that whole situation? And then also, quickly, Jinder Mahal, is he the right guy to be in this program with Randy Orton? Go.
Okay, first of all, let's take Randy Orton, Bully Ray.
Okay.
Maybe this is leading to a program between Randy Orton and Bully Ray, which I would love to see. See, Bully Ray to me is one of the best bad guys in the business.
He is.
And I think coming into the WWE against someone like a Randy Orton would be very compelling.
Now, don't you feel like that's somewhat of a shot in the dark since the Dudley boys technically retired about 6 months ago?
It doesn't matter. Bully Ray's always making comebacks. No one ever retires.
Except for Stone Cold.
Ever retires.
Except for Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Retired.
The one guy we wish would come back won't come back.
Wait a minute. The Dudley boys may have retired. Bully Ray never retired. He's not officially retired.
That's a fair statement. You know what, Bill? The one guy that we wish would come back, Stone Cold Steve Austin, refuses to come back. I'm going to get my feelings here.
It's not a refuse.
Jeez.
It's not a refuse. There are medical reasons where if he's hurt again, it would be devastating to him. So it depends. You'd have to bring him back on a limited one-shot basis, maybe a 2 or 3 minute match, a Stone Cold Stunner and goodbye. But he's also got other interests going on right now. He doesn't want, probably, and I'm not speaking for him, to put his body into that kind of stress when he's doing really well with his CMT show.
He is.
And making personal appearances.
Yeah, that and the podcast that he does is pretty awesome, too. Does it twice a week. All right, well, let's do this. Go ahead, Bill. I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying I've been on his podcast.
Yeah, now I heard that episode. That was actually my first experience. My first Bill Apter experience was when you did the Stone Cold Steve Austin show. I consider myself to be an infant in the professional wrestling world. I've actually only been what you would call a hardcore fan here for like the last 3 years or so. So to me, talking to the Candy Man is like being a kid in the candy store. Very cool.
That's great. Now let me take Jinder Mahal for a minute.
Sure.
They're only doing one thing wrong with him as far as I'm concerned. The thing that they're not doing, he's got an impressive physique. So when he stole the belt, etc., I would have loved to have seen him like with the Hogan thing, just ripping the shirt open. They have him dressed like a gentleman, but you want to see him with that physique. And in terms of, the feuding him with Randy Orton right now, I think it's fine. I think you guys, and I did hear a lot of what you were talking about, and I think you guys are just, looking for things to cut into there when they're trying to build up a bad guy with a foreign following. And, a lot of times when I'm walking my dog in the morning, I pass by the school buses.
Lexi Rose.
Waiting.
Your poodle, right?
Thank you. Well, Lexi Rose, prettiest doggy daddy knows. Thank you. And I listen to the kids. and they're pretty scared of Jinder Mahal. So without over-examining things, he would be a probable very good transitional bad guy until they find that other guy who is going to, and that other guy could be Finn Balor.
No, absolutely, I agree.
He's the other brand. He's the other brand.
Yeah, but they could always flip flop them like they've been doing here recently.
No. There was someone else I had in mind. It wasn't Finn Balor. Throw me some good guy Smackdown names.
Sami Zayn.
Sami Zayn.
No, keep going. Keep going.
John Cena, if you want to count him.
No, keep going. Keep going.
I don't know how many other high-level good guys are there on SmackDown, Joe. I mean, I can't think of a whole bunch of them.
Give me some more SmackDown names.
AJ Styles.
That's the guy.
Yeah, indeed.
So it goes from Randy Orton to Jinder Mahal to AJ Styles.
Yeah, well, that would be great, and I know AJ Styles has already had a title run, but I don't think there's anybody in the whole wide world that would have a problem with it. And I know you heard a little bit of that conversation. Our biggest beef was with Randy Orton not being able to draw the attention of the fans within his program. He needed to actually go on Twitter as not Randy Orton, but Randy, and draw the attention of the fans that way. And I thought that was kind of really sophomoric and a little bit beneath him. But that's neither here nor there. There'll be a pay-per-view this weekend. He'll either win or lose the title.
Wait. How do we know that was Randy Orton if he's just gone on as Randy?
Well, I mean, it was on his verified Twitter page.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, what I mean is like Randy. It was Randy the person, not Randy the character. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So anyway, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, Bill Apter, the Candyman, will face off for the very first time here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Code Challenge versus the one, the only, the Night Owl. Intern Timmy, better get the music right this time. Hit the music, brother. There it is.
Wait a minute, unfair. I have my own music. my music is the NWO.
Whoa. Hey, we promised to have that uploaded for you, Bill, if you promise to come back.
No, I just did it.
Hey, not a bad impersonation of the song there. I dig it. All right, Nightmare Jones, take it away.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the Wrestle Talk Podcast Game Show Challenge. I am your host, Nightmare Jones. Tonight we have Bill Apter going up against Rene in what I like to call TV shows set in New York.
Oh, goodness.
So these are going to be...
Oh, this is not a wrestling game show. Okay.
In New York, I will give you 3 clues, and whoever shouts out the answer first gets the point. We're going to go to 3 points. Whoever gets 2 out of 3 wins the game show challenge.
What's the prize?
What's the prize? Hey, Wrestle Talk Podcast T-shirt. Hey, Wrestle Talk Podcast T-shirt. Is that going to do?
We will send you a Wrestle Talk Podcast T-shirt.
I love it, and the pressure is on. Let's go.
Let's do it. Oh, wait. Before we start, let me say this. Nightmare Jones, every single time, whether it's Ted DiBiase or Paul Orndorff or Tully Blanchard or Savio Vega, you always pick in the favor of the guest. That's why my record is 10-13, and I think it's absolutely unfair. But you know what? I'm taking down the Candyman tonight. The Night Owl's taking home the W no matter what.
Okay. You know what? Since this is trivia-based, obviously, so here's the first few lines of the Candyman. Sammy Davis. Who can take the sunrise, twinkle it with dew, cover it with chocolate and a miracle or two? The Candyman. Everybody. Oh, the Candyman. The Candyman. Because he mixes it with love and makes the world taste good. You got it. Okay.
That's awesome.
All right, I'm ready to go.
Let's go.
Okay. So the first show had to do with Lucille and Ricky.
I love Lucy. I love Lucy. I love Lucy.
Oh, that's exactly where I was going, right? I thought I
They got the answer first.
You're going down, Candyman.
But wait a minute. That show was not based in New York. I don't think that show was based in New York.
I'm just going by Wikipedia.
That's your first mistake. Where's Alec Baldwin when you need him? What are you doing, Nightmare Jones? All right, next question.
We're going to make game shows great again.
Yeah, we are indeed.
The next show starred Dick Van Dyke.
The Dick Van Dyke Show.
And the Dick Van Dyke Show.
Yes!
Wait a minute. This is not fair because he had done 2 shows, so you never got to read the rest of the question. So without hearing, I could have said the Dick Van Dyke Show, but it could have been his other show. And Dick Van Dyke, you can see pictures of me and he in my book. He was one of my heroes.
I saw that in your book, Bill. That was pretty cool, man. That was pretty freaking cool. I saw that.
Hold on. This is getting to be a little bit like when my son used to teach me how to play Super Mario, and he forgot to tell me some of the rules. I always beat him. All right,
Joe Shenanigans.
All right, go ahead.
How about this? Third question, winner takes all.
I like it.
Let's do it.
Dick Van Dyke.
All right. Dick Van Dyke. This third show ran from 1964 to 1972. It had to do with a man that married a witch.
Bewitched.
Bewitched.
I got that first.
Bill Apter has won the Wrestle Talk podcast.
Oh my goodness, I can't get a win around here. Oh man.
Now, wait a minute, I take exception to this because he just called me Bill Apter. He put an N in my name.
Apter. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Joe,
that.
you did that. Joe, you did that to me because I was saying it right the whole night, and then you start. You know what? Play the music. That's fine. The Candyman wins. Oh goodness, I can't believe this.
Well, guys, I'm almost running out of time, and I'm having a great time.
All right, well, Bill,
if you have a few other questions that I can answer, because I have to start uploading stuff to OneWrestling.com.
Absolutely. Well, this is the only thing we need for you to do, Bill. We'd love for you to come back some other time down the road. And number 2, please tell people how to keep up with you on social media so that they know where to find all the awesome content that you have.
Well, we can do that. I'm at Apter, A-P-T-E-R, no N in it. I'm at Apter One Wrestling. That's the number 1. I'm also on Facebook. Or my email address is bapter@onewrestling.com. And I do answer my fan mail. And I want to thank everybody out there for your fanship. And I love doing these shows. And thank you all for your support. And don't forget to check me out on hundreds and hundreds of videos on OneWrestlingVideo.com. That's homework. And my book is still out there. And if you don't want to read the book, you can go to Amazon and get there's an MP3 CD available or a download audio version. And I did the book. I read it, and all my wrestling imitations. Whenever there was a wrestler quoted, it's in the book. For example, you see, wonderful Willie talks about the American Dream. Dusty Rose, if you will, with all my little black babies, white babies, and Chinese babies, booging down Broadway with superstar Billy Graham.
Ladies and gentlemen, the legendary journalist Bill Apter.
If you want a little Terry Funk, there's Terry Funk in the audio book, because Bill Apter drove me crazy for 40 years.
That's absolutely fantastic. Bill, an honor and a pleasure, sir. We can't wait to talk to you again down the road.
All mine, and email me the link so I can send this out to the millions
and millions of Bill Apter fans. Have a good night, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Give Jinder Mahal a break. Give him a break. He's a typical old school bad guy. So
hey, Bill. Hey, I want to clear by name. We love Jinder. We just don't like what Randy did by going outside of his program and disrespecting all the indie wrestlers. That was our only heat. I love Jinder Mahal. I hope he wins the championship, honestly. It's Randy that needs to put himself in check.
Yeah, but Randy had an opinion, and places like Twitter and Facebook are for people to have opposing views sometimes. Nobody always agrees. And you know what? It's given controversy because everybody's talking about it. Isn't that great?
Well, it definitely worked. You have a good night, Bill.
All right, you too. Thank you, guys. See you at the matches.
Thank you.
Peace.
Woo! That was amazing.
I'm going to go ahead and take that win against Bill Apter. I wanted to be polite because I don't like to disrespect a legend. But I won that night, Nightmare Jones, and you're not going to take it away from me, okay? It was 11. I'm 11-13. No one's taking that win away from me. Is that fair? Is that fair?
But Rene, you said, and we can go back, you said that the last question was winner takes all.
Because Bill Apter was crying about it. What do you want me to do? Tell the legend that he lost? Why didn't you tell him he lost? Nightmare Jones, you're always putting me in these weird positions. That's okay. It's fine. I'm not going to be upset about it. You know what? We don't even have time for break today. We got to get into the world's greatest fantasy wrestling group. So Nightmare Jones, give us a little bit of music, man, and let's get into the FWWC segment, baby, right now. To me.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide Chapter segment. Woo! What a crazy week it's been.
Indeed it has. I know there's a lot of people who are probably saying, hey, you guys went over 6 minutes on your Bill Apter interview. We're ready to come on and give our opinions because, we're the superstars. We're the wrestlers of the Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide Chapter. But listen, guys, Bill Apter is a legend. Okay? This man has been everywhere. He has done everything. And when the man wants to continue, we allow the legends to continue. But I digress. It is time for the greatest fantasy wrestling group, the Fantasy Wrestling Worldwide Chapter segment, to commence. Nightmare Jones, I know we got quite a few callers, a lot of people who are waiting around for some news. They want to know who's in the 6-man battle royal going into UXT TakeOver Chicago. But before we make that announcement, let's go ahead and get our first caller on and see what their thoughts are.
We do. Ladies and gentlemen, our first caller tonight is one half of Lurch Creek, ladies and gentlemen, Tank.
Howdy, boy.
Now, Tank, it sounds like the fans aren't necessarily that excited to have you on the show today. As you heard in the background there was some booing going on. I know that you're not a guy that really cares about that too much, but we want to know, man, what are your thoughts tonight?
There, you just said it. Do you think Blitzkrieg really cares? Do you think Tank really cares about what the fans want? Do you think that because I just go out and put a show on for them, I don't care about them? They're a nobody. They just come here to pay my paycheck. They give me the money. I don't care about them.
So now, as a member of the board of directors, Tank, I've got to say, please tread lightly when you're talking about the fans. I mean, the reason that we are able to send you your paycheck every 2 weeks is because of the fans. But I understand where you're coming from. The fans haven't necessarily been in your corner from the very beginning. Now that you're a champion, I can understand why you don't necessarily care all that much. But I'm curious, there's been some news here lately that you guys will not only be defending your FWWC UXT Tag Team Championships, but that you'll also be competing on Sunday against some mystery tag team that has yet to be revealed. And to be honest with you, I'm quite frustrated because last word I got from their representative is that they were supposed to kind of make themselves known late last week, if not early this week. And at this point, it is Wednesday, and we have not heard from that tag team yet. So I guess my first question is, how are you feeling going in up against the Outsiders? And number two, what do you feel about this mystery team, and do you have any guesses as to who it may be?
All right, so let's start with your first question about the Outsiders. How do I feel about the Outsiders? Well, like what we did to them at Universe Mania 3, we will beat them 1, 2, 3. I will. And like, let me use a reference. Last night, when the heel deal put up saying that he was going to beat Mason the Mechanic Murray 1, 2, 3, well, did he? No. In fact, he lost. And did you see what I did? I slid into that ring and hit him with a tank plow. I grabbed that mic and I held my title over top of him and said, just like at Universe Mania 3, we beat you, you're not going to get those titles. So that's how I feel about the Outsiders. The second question. That is a good question, actually, because I don't know who we're going to go up against, but let me tell you, me and DeAndre, right now he's stuck at an airport. His plane's being delayed for some unknown reason, but he will be there. He will be there Saturday. We have been talking back and forth. We don't care who it is. We're going to be there. We're going to beat them. We're going to go into round 2, and we're going to continue, and we're going to go on and take on Titans of Time, win those tag team belts, and we're going to be a 2-tag team champion. I'm going to have the UXT tag team champion on my left shoulder. I'm going to have the main heavyweight tag team championships on my right shoulder. You can be ready to see that.
Absolutely love the confidence take, and we want to thank you for joining us tonight, sir. I know you're going to have a very busy weekend, and I am just equally as excited as you are to find out exactly who that other team is, except for the fact that I'm not going to probably be quite as dismissive as you are, because so far we've seen nothing but top-level tag teams in the tournament. So I have no doubt in my mind that whoever this tag team is going to be a significant challenge to you guys, Blitzkrieg, the current UXT tag team champions. Again, we thank you for calling in. Nightmare Jones, I think it's time to move on to our next caller. Who do you got on the queue?
Oh, what's that, Tank?
Can I say one more thing to these unknown tag teams out there? You all can be the scaredest people on the planet. But come Sunday at Backlash, you can bet on it and you can be ready that your wall will lose.
All right. Well, I'm sure whoever that is will tune in to the segment and hear everything you had to say. We appreciate it, Tank. We always love it when you call in, buddy. All right. Nightmare Jones, who do we got up next, man? These phone lines are blowing up right now.
It is. Our next person we have coming on is a guy that's been coming on quite regularly. He's a new member, Mr. Julius Cairo.
Hello, gentlemen.
Mr. Cairo, pleasure.
Hello. It seems like the fans are...
Did I not tell you last week I would make an impact?
You have indeed, sir. And there's a chance, no guarantees, because we won't find out here until we'll find out here within a couple of minutes how big that Ampex's going to be, because you may be one of the entrants into the UXT 6-man battle royal for the #1 contendership for the UXT championship. So our question is, despite the fact that you've already made a significant impact, are you prepared, if you are one of those people, to make and break whoever gets in your way in order to capture that #1 contendership?
As I stated in my debut, anyone who steps in my way I hope they have their savings account built up. Board of directors, you may want to have an ambulance on site because I plan on putting someone in it the first match that I have. I plan on doing damage, and if I'm in this battle royal, I feel sorry for the other 5 that will be involved. Because I will have no remorse for what I do to them in that ring. So let it be written. So let it be done.
Incredible and strong statements from the last descendant, Julius Cairo. Nightmare Jones, I want to get your thoughts here quickly. You've been here for a long time. You're a current Universe Heavyweight champion, I'm sorry. Do you see a bright future for Julius Cairo, whether he is or isn't in this battle royal? Are good things in his future?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that he has already started making a huge impact, and I think that he's just getting started. I think that very, very soon you will see him with some sort of a title. Like he's confident. He's not afraid to get his hands dirty. So absolutely.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to see what he brings to the table, because it's definitely one thing to come on and to intimidate people. He's 6'8", 280 pounds, but it's a whole other thing to step into the ring with some of the best competitors in the FWWC. I'm definitely looking forward to see what it is that he brings to the table. But we're not done yet, Nightmare Jones. Let's go ahead and get our next caller on.
Our next caller has not had the best week. Lost his match on Monday to Alden Murphy. Jimbo Slice, what's going on, my friend?
Not much. What's up, fellas?
Hey, what's going on? Legend Jimbo Slice, how you doing tonight?
Well, I'm doing all right.
So what's on your mind tonight?
Monday night. Had a tough loss Monday night with Arden Murphy, but you think that's going to hold me down? Not a chance.
Well, listen, we know what a resilient individual you are. That's why you've been a multiple-time champion. The question is, what are your plans, sir? I mean, what do you have in mind? What is next for Jimbo Slice?
What next for Jimbo Slice after Sunday? Whoever is Legends champion, I don't care who it is, I'm coming for him. I'm bringing that title back to the person that originally had it and was never defeated.
That is very true. I can confirm that.
I look forward to facing you for that title, Jimbo. I look forward to facing you.
So Nightmare confidently stating in his own way that he's going to take that championship home. And you know what? Nightmare Jones has been on somewhat of a winning streak. Good chance that's who you might be facing. So if it is Nightmare Jones, Big Papa Kurt, a.k.a. Jimbo Slice, how would you feel about that?
Well,
like I told you, I don't care who it is.
I respect Jimbo Slice for everything that he is. He is the legend. But if I do walk out with that Legends Championship, he may want to face me, but he's going to lose. So, I mean, if he wants to lose, by all means.
All right, well, hey, fair enough. Nightmare Jones, Big Papa Kurt, that would be a tremendous match. If that happens down the road, I know it'll be main event status. Thank you, Jimbo Slice, for calling in. We're moving on to the next caller. You have yourself a great night, buddy.
All right, the next caller is another new member of the FWWC, had a win recently. The Law. How are you, sir?
Good. How are y'all?
We're doing good. We're doing good.
Mr. Law, thank you for being here tonight. A bit of an up and down week for you. Monday night, you faced what could possibly become one of your primary rivals during your time in UXT. You faced Curtis Black, which ended in a double disqualification. It seems like you gentlemen don't understand that we are a wrestling promotion and not a street fighting promotion. You couldn't keep your hands to yourselves. And truthfully speaking, I was a bit disappointed that we weren't able to come up with a winner. But then on Tuesday, after meeting with the BOD and having that conversation, you faced a man who in a very short amount of time has already made his mark here in the FWWC, the only man ever to hold the most prestigious championship in this promotion, the Warriors Heart Championship, while still in UXT. That's right, none other than Corbin Slater. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Well, I beat him, but I have respect for him. I won't get too cocky with it. It was a great win, and he put up a great match, but I still have a great deal of respect for the guy.
No doubt, and it's not hard to. I mean, one of the hardest working guys in the chapter, no doubt about it. Well, Law, we want to give you a chance to give a closing statement because it is time to announce who are the 6 men going into the UXT Battle Royal at UXT TakeOver Chicago. So go ahead and we'll go on to the announcement.
Oh, last statement. I just want to say this. I should be in the 6-man Battle Royal because I've been working hard every single day, dropping promos once or twice. About once or twice every other day. I've won a match, and I came to a draw with Curtis Black. I beat Corbin Slater, which you even said yourself, the only one to win the Warriors Heart Champion in UXT. So I think that's a statement enough for me to be in that Battle Royal.
Very, very interesting. I think you've done a good job of representing yourself, sir. And here shortly, in just a few seconds, you're going to find out exactly whether or not you're in that match before we move on to Snippets of Truth with our guy, Big Daddy P. Thanks again for calling, Law. Can't wait to see you in action.
Thank you.
All right. Nightmare Jones, I think there are a lot of people anxious to hear this news. So let's go ahead and hit this and get right into it. Breaking news here on the Wrestle Talk Podcast with Joe and Rene. Available to you 24/7 at WrestleTalkPodcast.com. And I'll tell you what. There are some special things going on with Wrestle Talk. We just talked to Bill Apter. We're getting ready to go into Marek Brave. And of course, as usual, we have the greatest fantasy wrestling group on the planet available to you all the time, again, through WrestleTalkPodcast.com. Now, on to the news. Here it is. Via the board of directors, the 6-man Battle Royal is no longer a 6-man Battle Royal, ladies and gentlemen. It is a 7-man Battle Royal. Well, why? Why is it 7 and not 6? Because there is too much talent ready to compete and anxious to become #1 contender for the UXT Championship. And so we didn't want to leave anybody out who deserved to be there. Now, not everybody was included. There are some new UXT superstars that were not added to this match because we feel like they still have something to prove. But these gentlemen that are going to be announced here shortly will be in the UXT Battle Royal. And here's the beautiful thing about it. It won't actually take place at UXT TakeOver Chicago. No. This match has been moved to Backlash, ladies and gentlemen, which means they get to play where the big boys play. Okay? Here are the names. Number 1, The Law. Number 2, the American Outlaw, Cowboy Kula. Number 3, the Saint. Number 4, Big Hoss. Number 5, Funky Flex. Number 6, Mr. Reese. And last but not least, a man that you just heard from just a few minutes ago, the last descendant, Julius Cairo, will all battle for the opportunity to become the number 1 contender for Massacre's UXT Championship. Now, we all know that by the end of this weekend, it could very well be Ghost's UXT Championship. You never know. In this chapter, nothing is predictable other than we're going to have some sick matches this weekend in the FWWC. Nightmare Jones, do we have at least one more caller from the fantasy group that might be willing to comment that we haven't already had on today?
Yeah. It was 6226. You're live on the Wrestle Talk podcast. Who we talking to?
What's going on, everybody? It's the UXT drill sergeant, Lucha of the Kansas City.
The perfect man to comment on the announcement that was just made. Luchador, you are a very accomplished man. You are the UXT drill sergeant. Usually guys face you first when they step into this promotion. So tell us quickly your thoughts on the 7 men going into the UXT Battle Royal at FWWC Backlash.
I'll tell you right now, these young men have been training hard, working hard, and cutting their teeth, putting blood, sweat, and tears into that UXT dojo. And I can guarantee you for sure, someone in that Battle Royal is coming out number 1 contender. I'm not sure who it is, but I can guarantee you they're going to fight like it's no tomorrow.
No doubt. And then just here quickly, Luchador, you have a match at Backlash against Mason the Mechanic Murray. The winner becomes the new number 1 contender for La Familia's Kurt Malice and his Hardcore Championship. Are you prepared to face the Mechanic?
Yes, I am. I'm sure I'm ready to face Mason the Mechanic Murray and his trusty rubber mallet, Lorelei, or whatever tools he used.
I think you got that right. I think it is
Lorelei.
Lorelei.
For hardcore title.
All right. Well, yeah. Luch, you've held many championships. That's one you haven't had a chance to hold yet. I imagine you're excited about that.
Yes, I am. Yes, I am.
Well, we want to thank you for calling in. Joker's Wild, you, and your trusty sidekick, Battle Cat, your manager, who we haven't heard of very much lately, Youngblood, have had a good share of success. You and Battle Cat have both been champions, and nobody, and I mean nobody, would be surprised if you walked away with the number 1 contendership this weekend. I want to thank you for calling in, Luchador. We will catch you this weekend in the ring.
All right, I'll see you guys.
All right, Nightmare Jones, sorry about that. Luchador, we cut you off a little early there. But it is time, my friends, to get into my favorite segment of the show. That's right, Snippets of Truth with Big Daddy P, which will be followed up by a huge and incredible interview with Marek Brave of the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy, co-founded by him and co-founded by the one and only Tyler Black, a.k.a. Seth Rollins. Nightmare Jones, intern Timmy, hit that Big Daddy P music, baby. It's time for Snippets of Truth. Daddy P!
What's going on, my friend? How you doing?
¿Qué pasa, brother?
What is going on?
Big Daddy P gets his place to be on Wrestle Talk Podcast.
Boom. Big Daddy P, you're a busy man. We're excited that you are once again back on the show, as you are every Wednesday, usually around 8:25 Central Time. But we went a little long with Apter, went a little long with the FWWC. But the floor is yours, my friend. We know you are here to bring the prayer request to the footstep of the Lord, and we want to issue those prayer requests to you here because I know you're having a little bit of issues with access. But before we get there, Big Daddy P, backlash. A lot of people are not excited about the main event between Jinder and Randy Orton, especially because of Randy Orton's behavior recently on Twitter. I'm curious, is backlash something that you're looking forward to, or are you kind of ho-hum about it?
Well, first of all, I think every pay-per-view is an opportunity. So, again, I love the product. I love the business. So no matter who's wrestling, no matter what the storyline is, I'm always excited to enjoy the pay-per-view. So at the same time, too, they need to push India so Jinder will get it, which is fine. Randy's he's had the championship. He's done everything he's done. I mean, again, he's still very active. So it's all good. I love pay-per-views no matter what they are, but I want you to remember something when it comes to time, okay? When it comes to Wrestle Talk and our prayer segment, one of two things is going to happen. Either Christ is going to come back or we're going to have the prayer segment. Either way, we win.
Yes, sir. That's it. And for about 2 years now, Big Daddy P, I think we might have missed 1 week. And even that week that you weren't able to make it, we did the prayer request. We did the prayer request. And so that's something that if you tune into Wrestle Talk, you're going to get every week, period. Just like Shoot and Shout, just like Game Show. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy to think.
It's ever since the Masked Saint.
Since the Masked Saint, absolutely. We've had an incredible run.
It was before the Masked Saint, actually.
About a month before.
In the beginning of that.
Yep, about 2 years now.
Wow.
I could not be happier. Well, Big Daddy P... Yeah, go ahead.
The prayer request that you have.
Yes, sir. Okay, so one of them actually came from a member of the Wrestle Talk family who actually sent me this story about Razor Ramon. Razor Ramon was recently hospitalized over in Europe as he was preparing to make an appearance at a very well-known wrestling promotion in the UK who is run by Ricky and Soraya Knight, who are better known as the parents of former WWE superstar Paige. No details have been disclosed as to why he ended up in the hospital, but we want to have you petition the Lord for his health. Razor Ramon is the hero of many, many people, including myself. And, of course, the favorite wrestler.
A great guy, dude. A great guy.
Yeah, and I've heard that.
Great with fans.
He's got his demons, but he always treats the fans with a ton of respect.
Well, we all have our demons, dude.
Indeed. Very, very true.
My demon is... So, that's all good. What's the other one?
The other one came to us right at the beginning of the Wrestle Talk podcast. It was sent to us by a friend of ours, also a member of the FWWC, a guy named Robert, and he wants a prayer request for his girlfriend. Her name is Destiny. She's based out of West Virginia, and the prayer request reads as follows. Can you say a prayer for my girlfriend, which cannot seem to catch a break in life on trying to do the right thing? Every time she does something she's supposed to, she always ends up in a bad place due to not doing a good enough job by the system, as in... keeping up with her payments to her parole officer. For some reason or another, things just don't seem to work out in her favor. So we petition the Lord for prayers for Destiny Dabbs in West Virginia as well.
And Destiny's friend, right? So Destiny's girlfriend. And
well, Robert is the boyfriend of Destiny, and Destiny is the one that is requiring the prayer request.
Oh, okay, no problem. All righty, let's do it.
Yes, sir.
Father God, we thank you so much for this opportunity to come before your throne of grace with an attitude of gratitude that we ask on behalf of both Robert, Destiny, and Scott Hall. Father, you know the conditions of all three of these situations. Father, I pray that you continue to strengthen Destiny, that you open every door that needs to be open, close every door that needs to be closed. We know that you're the one who's written, for I know the plans I have for you. So may she continue to seek you. May you continue to draw her in and strengthen her and bring those into her life that can help encourage her. And we thank you that Robert has stepped forward with this request, And we just ask that you continue to guide him and strengthen him as well. And Father, we also pray that you watch over Scott's health. We know that many people will go home tonight from work and they'll think they'll be on their way home, but you'll take them home and they'll be with you, and then that's it. There's no turning back. And so if there's someone listening right now, Father, who doesn't know you, that is not aware that to have a relationship with you just takes a mustard seed of faith. It's a little tiny bit of faith, enough to hear the good news of what you did on their behalf for dying for their sins, that by believing they would have eternal life with you. So I pray that whoever's listening right now, Father, that doesn't know you, that they would accept by faith alone, in you alone, everything that you have for them. And we just love you so much, and we look forward to being together, God willing, next week. And we ask these things in Christ's name. Amen.
Amen and amen. Big Daddy P, as always, it is an honor and a pleasure to have you on the show. We look forward to talking to you again next week, my friend.
You got it, brother. Hang in there, guys. Love you.
You got it. Love you too, Big Daddy P. All right, Nightmare Jones, it is time, sir. Now, I must excuse myself to the folks here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. I actually have to step away for a short while, so I'm actually going to pass the baton to the originator, the creator of the Wrestle Talk podcast, Nightmare Jones, Joe Lance, and our good friend Luke Roberts in this incredible interview with Marek Brave of the Black and Brave Wrestling Academy. Nightmare Jones, take it away.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Nightmare Jones, your host of the Wrestle Talk podcast. And tonight we have a very, very special guest joining us tonight. This gentleman has been everywhere you can imagine. I've been on my partner for this interview this week, Mr. Luke Roberts. How are you, sir?
Well, Mr. Lance, it's always an honor and a privilege to be here on the Wrestle Talk podcast. You know, the Wrestle Talk podcast is always bringing on the best professional wrestlers, not just in the Midwest, but throughout the country. And tonight, we have the privilege to be joined by a gentleman who's had tons of experience in the world of professional wrestling. He's had a lot of promotions that he's competed in. He's been pretty much around the country when it comes to professional wrestling. A lot of people, myself included, were first introduced to our next guest by watching him as well as his tag team partner, a gentleman by the name of Tyler Black, as a tag team called the Black and the Brave. The Black and the Brave, I apologize. These two gentlemen have toured the country, and this man has made his own niche in professional wrestling. So at this time, I want to go ahead and turn things over. I hope intern Jimmy's got the music ready, because at this time, we'd like to welcome to the Wrestle Talk podcast our next guest, Mr. Marek Brave. So Jimmy, if you'd be so kind, you can give us a little bit of an intro for Mr. Brave.
That's how we do.
Pump me up a little bit. It's been a little bit since I heard that song associated with myself and my tag team partners, but it kind of got me a little excited for this. So ready to roll.
Well, like I said, it's definitely an honor and a privilege to have you here on the Wrestle Talk podcast this evening. A lot of wrestling fans in the Midwest had an opportunity to see you in ring in a competition setting. And tonight we want to have an opportunity to sit down and talk with you. I know you have a lot of things going on, not just inside the squared circle, but outside the squared circle as well. We're going to go ahead and get things started. My first question is, when you were younger, who were your role models for professional wrestling?
Good question to start it off with. I started watching wrestling when I was about 5 years old, so early 90s. I watched it kind of, on and off again at that point, but when I really started to get into it, started watching every week, and keeping track of everything that was going on, my first favorite, and my favorite still to this day, my biggest inspiration in the wrestling ring is the one and only Shawn Michaels. I think a lot of people will probably give you that the same answer, and I think that is a tribute to his skills in the ring and his ability to kind of span different generations of professional wrestling fans. So my biggest role model growing up, as far as professional wrestling goes, was certainly HBK, Shawn Michaels. Well, I couldn't agree with you more, Marek. It's one of those where a lot of people, I mean, you can go to the casual wrestling fan, you can even go to a lot of the wrestlers that are touring this great country and this great planet, flying their craft inside the squared circle. And when you have the opportunity to say someone like Shawn Michaels, and I'm much in the same boat. I know our co-host here, Joe, he was in the same idea. Shawn Michaels definitely inspired a lot of not only current professional wrestlers, but wrestlers that are still in the ring to this very point in time. My next question is, I know with having wrestlers like Shawn Michaels as your role model, when did you choose to make the decision? Why did you choose the opportunity to become a professional wrestler? I mean, it's definitely a unique profession to be in. But can you give the listeners here of the Wrestle Talk podcast kind of a little bit of what finally made you decide that professional wrestling was the profession for you? Well, you know, I was a huge wrestling fan growing up. Watched the product every week. Monday Night Raw, I didn't miss an episode for years upon years. But to tell you the truth, I never really viewed it as a career. Or I never viewed professional wrestling as something that I could do long term. I always thought I'd just be a fan and I'd always enjoy it. I had, other aspirations and other goals in life that I was going to pursue. But I met Tyler, Seth, whatever you want to call him. I'll call him Colby. That's all those years now. I met Colby and he kind of introduced me to this other group of guys. We all started wrestling together, performing on shows together, pre-being trained. And at one point he was just like, hey man, you're really good. You should think about professional wrestling as a career. And why don't you come do it with me? Let's go get trained together. So after, kind of a roundabout way, that's exactly what we ended up doing in the fall of 2004, right after we graduated high school. We kind of packed up our things and headed up to Chicago, and we got trained under one Danny Daniels. But yeah, to tell you the truth, I never really viewed it as a career until right in high school was ending, and I realized I didn't really want to go to college. I didn't want to go to regular college. I was kind of lined up for some scholarship opportunities at the University of Iowa. I had a girlfriend at the time who was enrolled at the University of Iowa. She was a year older than I was. And it was kind of all planned out that I would go there, and I would do my studies there and live with her, and everything would be good to go. But towards the end of my senior year in high school, I got really focused on the shows that I was performing on, and decided that if I really wanted to make it, something bigger and something better, that maybe I should pursue some training. And when Colby kind of, gave me that little pep talk and kind of convinced me to come along for the ride and try and make it myself, that was really all it took, and that's when I realized that's kind of what I had wanted all along. So kind of the rest is history from there.
Gotcha. Now, many professional wrestling fans know you from your tag team Black and the with Tyler Black. Did y'all listeners how the tag teams came together? What made you want to become a tag team together?
Well, we got trained together in Chicago, fall of 2004. There were 4 people in our class to start with, and Colby and I were the only ones to graduate the class. And then it was just kind of natural for us to ride together and hit the town together. We're from the same city. We're both from Davenport, Iowa. And Danny Daniels got us on all the shows that he was on, and we rode together. And oftentimes it wasn't a conscious decision for us. Hey, we should become a tag team. About the long black hair and all that stuff. It wasn't a conscious decision. It was just something where we'd show up to shows and the promoter would look at us and go, hey, you guys would make a good tag team. Let's put you in a tag team match tonight. And I still remember the first time that happened. It was the NWA Midwest show. The late Nick Cuban was the promoter. And he said, all right, you guys are gonna tag up tonight. What's your tag team name? And we had we had tagged before, so we didn't know, and we're trying to think of names, and we're spending all afternoon before the show coming up with different things, and nothing's sticking. And for some reason, I was just kind of sitting there, you know, in the chairs before they had opened the doors to the paying audience. And I looked over at Colby and I was like, hey man, what about like, you know, you're Tyler Black, I'm Marek Brave. What if we just went with something simple? We just called ourselves the Black and the Brave. And no lie, I'm thinking in my head at this time, I'm thinking of the old soap opera, The Bold and the Beautiful. And for some reason, the Black and the Brave just jumped out at me. And I fully expected it to shoot it down and tell me and going back and forth over different names for probably a couple hours, both telling each other that each other's ideas were stupid. And I was like, what about just the Black and the Brave? He's like, yeah, I like it. And I was like, all right, man, let's do it. We're the Black and the Brave. So we told the promoter, and we got introduced as the Black and the Brave that night. But no, there was no conscious decision to become a tag team. It just kind of made sense. And you know, as the promoter myself, now looking back, I kind of done the exact same thing.
Nice. Now, you've won many singles and tag team championships throughout your career, but many people would say that the first major championship is the one that means the most. What was your first championship, and what did it mean to you to win that championship?
Oh man, now we're really going back here. I've been doing this for 14 years. I don't have the best memory, but I think my first championship was for a promotion that I now run. I didn't run at the time because I was just a young kid. It's a promotion called Scott County Wrestling, or there was back then. Now we just call ourselves NJPW Pro. But I won the mid-card title, which was called the Quad Cities Championship. Because the cities that we were part of 4 cities that make up the Quad Cities of Iowa and Illinois. We've got Davenport, Bettendorf, Moline, and Rock Island, right on the Mississippi River here. And that's called the Quad Cities. So our mid-card title is called the Quad Cities Championship, or the Quad City title. And I do believe I won that one first, as far as my first championship in the professional wrestling business. But I wouldn't say it was, you know, I don't really look at that one like, oh, that's the easiest or the best championship. Just because at the time, you know, we were just a small little promotion that we were kind of all just friends, and we just did it for our friends and our family members. And now it's grown to be a pretty decent promotion here in the Midwest, 14 years later. But at the time, it wasn't anything too spectacular. So I think it wasn't a championship, but I won a tournament for IWA Mid-South in the summer of 2005, I believe. It was called the Battle of the Future Stars. And as far as I know, there's only been 2 Battle of the Future Stars tournaments in IWA Mid-South history. The first one, summer 2005, I won, and I defeated Matt Seidel and won in the finals of that one, which was funny because the show was kind of booked strangely, and we didn't have enough time to put together this main event, which was a 9-man scramble elimination match. So, which is very indicative of Ian Rock's booking style. Not to bury Ian Rock, I love Ian Rock, he's a great dude. But we didn't have a lot of time to put it together, so we called maybe like half the match, but we didn't get to any of the finishes. And then the music started playing for everybody to go out there. It was like, oh man, we're just going to have to call it out there, which is a difficult proposition for somebody who's only been in the business for 6 months, as I had been at the time. Let alone, you know, just a single match, but we were in a 9-man scramble match, we had to call in the ring, which was a little bit more difficult. So we got through it. We did actually end up breaking a vending machine along the way. I know how to reach through the plastic glass of the vending machine and busted that wide open. And actually earlier in the night, I had lost a tooth in a match with myself and Colby versus the Tomaselli brothers. You know, and Tomaselli, I lost a tooth, and they had to continue wrestling that night. So I lost a tooth, and we busted a vending machine. But I won the inaugural Battle of the Future Stars tournament, and actually the second winner of the second Battle of the Future Stars tournament was actually John Moxley, Dean Ambrose. So that's something that him and I haven't I'm not probably the only one that but so I would say that was the first one that really meant something to me and really told me that, hey, you know, maybe I can do this, maybe I can hang with you guys. And if he and Ross have enough faith in me to allow me to win this tournament when there was fantastic guys in the tournament, such as, you know, Colby and Delirious and Matt Seidel, and, you know, I'll probably forget some big guys. But for him to allow me to go over in a tournament like that kind of showed that, you know, he had faith in me and that I might be able to do something with this professional wrestling thing.
Right. I have one more question, and I'm going to send it back to my co-host, Luke. You wrestled for several major promotions such as IWA, Mid-South, Full Impact Pro, and the National Wrestling Alliance. What was your experience like in these promotions?
You know, anywhere I wrestled, I had a good time, and I met a lot of great people, and I had a lot of great experiences. I wouldn't single those three out as my favorites. I did enjoy my time with IWA Mid-South when we first started, because to be on shows with really just independent legends. Legends with this business, and Chris Hero, and Jimmy Jacobs, and CM Punk, and Cole Cabana, and guys like that. In my time with AEW in Chicago, I got to do programs with Jerry Lynn and matches with Nigel and people like that, and Claudio Castagnoli, Cesaro. But really just, I think breaking in at the time we did was super beneficial to us, because there were just so many high-end talent and almost unrecognized talent. The independent scene was much different back then than it is today, and a lot of those guys, you know, if you were really into independent wrestling, you knew who they were, and you knew that they were mega stars. But if you were just kind of a casual wrestling fan, you had no idea who these guys were. And now it seems like, you know, in 2017, these top indie guys are known around the world. And social media has certainly played a part in that and helped wrestling fans to be able to get a hold of a lot of different promotions and a lot of different matches and stuff. And that's fantastic. But I think for us breaking in and getting to learn from those guys and kind of cut our teeth alongside those guys, it was something that was super beneficial. So, like I said, I can't really single any one promotion out as my favorite or any fantastic memories or any single promotion, but I just think everyone that kind of took a chance on us and gave us an opportunity, I'm just very grateful that they did that, you know, without putting faith in us and trusting us to perform at a high level with these already established folks. I don't think, you know, either Colby or myself have gotten to where we are today. Marek, like I said, you mentioned some of the promotions that you've been a part of, IWA Mid-South, NWA Midwest. Like just listening a few minutes ago talking about the late in June, had an opportunity in my career to have a couple events where I got to meet Mr. June, and again, having an opportunity to be in the same thing and listen to some of the advice that man was able to give me inside the squared circle was something I feel very fortunate for. I mean, Joe and I were talking about earlier. I mean, you look at the Midwest, I mean, you talk about SCW, you talk about AAW, you talk about 3XW, you talk about Dynamo Pro Wrestling, you talk about High Risk Wrestling, you talk about, I mean, I could go on for the rest of the show talking about all the promotions that you've traveled throughout the Midwest. But I want to go back, you were talking about NJPW Pro. And I know, like you said earlier on, kind of your starting point, and those and following things on the internet as of late. Most recently, you had a matchup where you were taking on, defending, I believe, the SCW Heavyweight Championship against a gentleman by the name of Connor Braxton. And there's a little bit of information. I mean, I know you've been talking about being around wrestling for as long as you have. Do you know the fans about that matchup that you had most recently with Connor Braxton? Yeah, like you had said, it was for NJPW Pro, and I was defending the heavyweight championship. It was actually our largest event that we've ever put on. It is in downtown Davenport at the legendary Cold Ballroom. It's a very, very historic building for not only Davenport, just the entire 16 and event scene in general. You've had guys like Elvis perform at Cold Ballroom and Johnny Cash and B.B. King and Metallica and honestly the list goes on and on. So for us to, after 14 years of putting on events here in the Quad Cities, for us to finally be able to showcase our talent in front of an audience at the legendary Cold Ballroom, that was kind of a dream come true for all of us here in NJPW Pro. And it was our largest event ever. We had over 550 people out there to witness that one. So that was kind of a little milestone for us. And we had a return event there in August. I believe Friday, August 25th. Special guest is actually going to be right back on that show. So check us out at NJPW Pro on Twitter and on Facebook as well. More information about that. But yeah, it was our big show of the year. We call our big show Epic, which is actually kind of funny. Today, WCW co-promoted with us here in Davenport. And we co-promoted a show entitled Epic with them. And they liked the name so much that he took it back to Berwyn and back to Chicago with to their big show every year. That's kind of funny. But yeah, I did defend my NCW title against Conor Braxton. Conor Braxton is actually a student of mine and Kobe. He was a graduate of our first class almost 2.5 years ago. So that was neat. We had left him a couple times before that, but it was when he was really new, really green, and just kind of cutting his teeth, so to speak. But, in the past 2.5 years, he's grown up. He's gotten a lot better. Obviously, he still has a lot of learning left to do, but is able to hold his own in there with some guys that have been doing it a lot longer than he has. But also going into that match, I knew that was unfortunately going to be my last professional wrestling match. 10 years ago, I suffered a pretty serious neck injury in FIP down in Florida in my Ring of Honor tryout match where I was teaming with Outta Black versus Briscoe Brothers. And unfortunately, there was a mishap and something went wrong, and I landed on the top of my head and damn near broke my neck. But I had to take a little bit of time off, kind of rehab that, and get to feeling better. Within that short amount of time, that's when Tyler took off and had a nice Ring of Honor run and his Ring of Honor championship run, which propelled him to obviously the WWE stage now. So unfortunately, I was kind of left out of all of that due to that injury. But took my time off, got back into it. Have been able to like you said, travel around the Midwest and leave my mark in each promotion. But going into this match for NJPW Pro, where I was defending the title, I did know it was my last professional wrestling match, and I knew I'd be losing the championship to my student. So it was actually a bittersweet moment. It was awesome seeing how large the crowd was and how big the event was, and knowing that my student would be taking over and, I'd kind of be passing the baton, so to speak, to him. Those were all great things, but also knowing that, unfortunately, I had to exit the performance aspect of the professional wrestling world the way I did, and not so much on my own terms, was a little bit of a bitter pill to swallow. But I suppose those are the cards we're dealt sometimes, and regardless of all that, I'm still fortunate and lucky enough to be involved with the wrestling school that I am, and that's my career now, that's my focus now, and that'll continue to be my focus going into the future. Well, like I said, I know from experience myself, neck injuries are something that you can do. Any injury in professional wrestling, you can't take lightly, but especially with the neck injury, those kinds of things not only are career threatening, they're also life threatening. I mean, again, to have the opportunity to be in a ring and have that level of you sit there and look at it, if yourself, Tyler Black, taking on the Briscoes in Full Impact Front, that's a pretty big statement, not only about yourself, but as a team as a whole. The next question is probably one you've heard many times, but a lot of the listeners of the Wrestle Talk podcast have basically sent in things on Facebook and on Twitter to ask. If there was one wrestler And I'm not just talking about here in 2017. I'm talking about one wrestler throughout all of professional wrestling that you wish you had the opportunity to get in the ring with. Who would it be? So we're talking all time periods. Any professional wrestler in the history of professional wrestling. Any professional wrestler, I mean, there's so many different styles, so many different professional wrestlers that have laced up a pair of boots. Who would be the one person that you would say, I have to be in the ring with this individual? You know, earlier I mentioned Shawn Michaels as my favorite professional wrestler of all time. You know what? I think I'm going to throw you for a loop here, because Shawn Michaels is not my answer. If I could wrestle any professional wrestler in any time period, in any history of professional wrestling, I want to go back a couple decades, maybe a little bit longer than that now. Oh man, I'm dating myself. Maybe let's go back 2.5 decades. I want to wrestle NJPW, Flair. I want to wrestle him in one of those hour-long epics. I want to test my mettle. I want to see if I can hang with one of the greatest of all time, some say the greatest of all time, the 16-time world champion. I want to be an hour long. I want to go Broadway with the Nature Boy Ric Flair. That's my aim. Well, I gotta tell you, Marek, that's one of those. You're gonna go out there and say, "This is what I am in the world of professional wrestling." Putting yourself up against Ric Flair and going an hour long. That's definitely one of those benchmarks to say, am I the best wrestler I can be? And again, that's a very great choice. Joe, I know you want to kind of ask a couple of questions about it. So we just finished talking about the in-ring career of Marek, but the story doesn't end here. Joe, I'm going to turn things over to you.
Exactly. Now, in 2014, you renewed your partnership with Tyler Black and established the Black and the Great Wrestling Academy in Beaumont, Illinois. What made you decide to open up a professional wrestling school?
Well, I was working at my regular job at the time. I was finishing up a degree. Actually, ironically enough, I was finishing up a degree in teaching. I was going to be a teacher, a regular teacher, not a wrestling teacher. And Kobe was signed with NXT at the time. And he texted me, he said, "How would you like to start a wrestling?" I had just gotten back into wrestling after during my dad to take my time off. Probably in the back of things for about a couple of years. And he saw that, I was on the up and up with that, and my passion had been renewed for the business. And he texted me and said, "How would you like to start a wrestling?" I was like, "Look, you're in Florida, man." He's like, I know. I want to get the ball rolling. I want to, see what you think. See if you'd be interested. Yeah, man, I'd definitely be interested. I'd run a couple classes of my own, just, kind of training camp, kind of deals here in the area for some kids. And it was extremely gratifying. It was rewarding, and passing along your knowledge to the future generation is something that people who've been around for a while should always take time to do, because without instruction, without proper instruction, the business doesn't grow, and that's always the goal of any business, let alone professional business, to grow and become bigger and better, and so much better than you were doing it. So, he texted me and asked if I wanted to do that. I told him, heck yeah, let's do it. That's right. I'm kind of busy right now. I got things going on, but let's put it on the back burner and kind of figure out how we can do this. Shortly after that, he got his call up to the main roster with Shield. The people were busy with that kind of stuff. And Shield, as their star, kind of took off and picked up. He was really, really busy, but it was something that we would talk about when he come home and we hang out and grab some lunch. And we talked about it, and we kind of go over the logistics and whatnot. And then one day it was like, all right, man, we're going to do this. Let's do this. So we partnered with the Independent Foundation. But we partnered with them, and we sat down and we had a meeting with them. And by the end of that, we knew that the only thing that was announced into the world. So our main goal in starting this school, like I kind of touched on earlier, was just to give back to the professional wrestling community and give kids of all ages, really. We call them kids so much, just over the just to give these guys and girls an opportunity really give a crap about you as an individual and you as a professional wrestler. They just want to get you out, get your money, and then move on. But that's not something that we do. It's something we take pride in. The fact that we genuinely care about our students. We keep in touch with all of our students, whether they stay here or after they graduate, so they go back to where they're from. We keep in touch with these guys and girls, and they send us matches from wherever they're from, and then we keep them for cheap to try and help them long after they're gone here. So, just to answer your question, our main goal was to give proper training, to give good training, but to give back to this community that has really given us so much over the years. Marek, I'm going to tell you right now, having the opportunity to follow professional wrestling for as long as I have, I mean, not just as an in-ring competitor, but in various facets for the better part of 3 decades. I'm going to tell you right now, I've heard nothing but great things of Black and Red Academy. I mean, there are a lot of great things going on. I know you have a partnership, I believe, with the QC CrossFit as well. I mean, again, you guys do bring the complete wrestling package to those that are wanting to aspire to be professional wrestlers. Like you said, there's a lot of professional wrestling schools. They claim they can teach you how to become a professional wrestler. But again, when you have the experience, and I'm sitting there looking at the website, knowing, let's say you have Tyler Black, Seth Rollins, the WWE, and yourself. I also noticed you have Matt Mayday, a man that I've had an opportunity to be on several events with as well, leading the charge, if you will, of the Black and Red Wrestling Academy. And again, it's definitely a place that if you're up in the Moline, Iowa, the Quad City area, you make it a point to stop by. If you want to be a professional wrestler and that's your area, you need to make it a point to head up that way. I know there's a lot of great wrestling schools in the bi-state. You have that, you have the Jacksonville Pro Dojo, you have the Harley Race Academy down in Troy, Missouri. And again, when we sit there and look at that area of the country, definitely a place you need to check out. I know that you've got a lot of things going on, so I do have a couple more questions, and then we're going to go ahead and let you take care of business. If you look at your entire career, both in ring and out of the ring, how do you think that the wrestling fan would remember Marek Brave? Well, I think the wrestling fans, they'd like to remember me. All they have to do is get on YouTube and type in botch shooting sword press, and then I'm not sure. outside of that, just a very memorable moment of my career, and after 11 years of being reminded of that every April Fool's Day, which is ironic on its own. But I was worried that is part of my legacy. But beyond that, besides that, I'm not really sure how people will remember me, how they'll choose to remember me. I hope it's in a positive light. I hope it's I hope they can remember me for the years of entertainment that I provided to them, and hopefully I was able to provide an escape from their everyday lives. But I just want to be remembered as somebody who loves professional wrestling, uses all every single time he steps in the ropes, and then continues to love professional wrestling so much that after he was done competing in ring, continued to pass his knowledge down to future generations of professional wrestlers. So I think when you think of me and you remember me, maybe you won't think of specific moments or specific matches of mine, but hopefully you can look at the matches of my students and watch their careers as they unfold. And somewhere on the back pages of their story, you can give a thought or two to all their things. Well, Marek, like I said, again, when you sit down and look at it, I've had the opportunity, from where I am here in the St. Louis area, having the opportunity to see you both on YouTube and having things, and might show my age too, but seeing things on VHS, seeing things on DVD. A lot of wrestling fans in the Midwest have had a great opportunity to see you in the ring. If you haven't had a chance to catch a Marek Brave match, I definitely, like you said, recommend go to YouTube, look up some of the matches of this man that's had a phenomenal in-ring career. Now he's bringing the next generation forward. Marek, we have one more thing we'd like for you to do before almost important to go ahead and get ready for a break. We have a segment here on the show almost every week. It's called the Shooting Challenge. What it is out between myself and Joe Lance, and if you'd be willing to participate, basically, it just gives us an opportunity to kind of vent what's on our mind. It doesn't have to necessarily be related to wrestling, but there's something that's on your mind, just to kind of get that little bit of a weight off your shoulders. Would you be willing to take part in our Shooting Challenge this week? Yeah, sure, no problem. Awesome. All right, well, like I say, Joe, did you get a chance to you got interns in, you ready to get that shooting shot stuff ready to run home? We're ready to go. All right, here we go. That's right, ladies and gentlemen, it is now time for the shooting challenge segment where you can talk about whatever is on your mind. I'm going to kick it off this week. What Smackdown is idiotic driver. Ladies and gentlemen, that are turn signals on your car for a reason. If you're going to make a turn, turn your turn signal on because it's just the polite thing to do. If you don't turn your turn signal on, it's kind of the asshole thing to do, in my opinion. That's my shoot in the shout segment for this week. Luke, why don't you go ahead and go next? Oh, I knew you were going to throw it to me, Joe. Like I said, there's a lot of things on my mind. But, you know, one thing that kind of really gets me, and it's one of those where people go out there and they don't give 100% in everything they do. I see a lot of people in this day and age that say they're going to do something and they only go part way. They dip their toe in the water, so to speak. That's one of the things that just drives me up the wall. The idea that people don't give 100%. It doesn't matter whether it's professional wrestling or if you're out in the workforce, whether you're a policeman or a fireman or you're a trash collector or you work for a city government or whatever. If you're going to do something, don't give anything less than 100%. I mean, that's when they just really just kind of drive me crazy. And I said, that's my take for the week. Marek, we're going to turn things over to you with your, what's on your mind?
Yeah, you guys had some good ones there. Something I've been thinking about a lot, something that, you know, you kind of reminded us daily is people's social media persona, their social media presence. Today I was listening to the Dan Patrick show on, I believe it's Sports Radio, and he had great sports journalist Al Michael on his show. And he coined the term anti-social media. And that's how, you know, people, they're called trolls or whatever you might call them, but it's not so much even just fans or you know, just normal everyday people that do trolling. I think there's a lot of people who have a spotlight on them who choose to perpetuate these negative thoughts, these negative vibes, and they put them out into the world. I'm a firm believer in what you put out, they'll get back in return. So a lot of these guys, a lot of these wrestlers, a lot of these people with spotlights on them, they have these negative attitudes when they're on social media, and they think that maybe that's a way to create a buzz for them is to you know, dig into somebody else or cut somebody else down. And I don't subscribe to that notion. I don't believe that that's the way that you need to conduct yourself in any form of life. But for the purpose of this segment, specifically social media. So I'd like to challenge everybody. I'd like to challenge my fellow professional wrestler. Get the full positive out there. Even if you're thinking something negative about somebody, that doesn't mean that you have to put that out to the world and put them on blast, so to speak, in front of everybody else. You know, I think there's an awesome way to address those situations. I think that's a one-on-one conversation, whether that be face-to-face, be attacked, be a phone call. If you have a problem with somebody, talk to them about it. Just put it out in the world and dig on them for everyone. So that's